think this is honestly the single greatest airport lounge experience I've ever had. Get some fresh air before you get on the plane, watch the planes before you get on the plane, have some breakfast watching the planes before you get on the plane. I mean, if you like planes, this lounge here, right, this is... Things I like on a long haul flight is privacy and a nice big space to stretch out where I can. Delta's One suites apparently offer both, so I thought I'd try them out today. Okay, bags dropped off, being through security. You can use the Sky Priority channel when you're flying with Delta in business. You can also go to the Delta Sky Club. Okay, scratch that. You don't use the, what was that? That's the Delta Sky Club. If you're flying in Delta One, there's actually a separate Delta One Club, the other side of TSA. So we're going to go there instead.
So 4R.
4R, thank you very much. Thanks for your help. Well, that's nice. There's even a personal concierge who helps you into the Delta One area. Press the button on the lift for me, because I don't like pressing my own buttons on lifts.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
What can I do for you?
Just wanted to grab a coffee if I can.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Where are you seated at?
I haven't got a seat yet, so I'll find somewhere.
Okay, yeah, you can go ahead and sit down, and then the server will bring you a menu.
Awesome.
And we'll take the order.
All right, thank you. Thanks. There are a variety of services that you can enjoy in the lounge here. Culinary options, spirits, massage chairs, showers. There's a spa here as well. I was offered a massage. I said no. You can check in from the lounge as well. Charging stations. And these little cool pods, these little private pods that you can sit in if you want to have your coffee and not be disturbed. Every lounge needs one of these, an open air space where you can watch the aircraft and have something to eat before you get on the plane. I should have gone to my gate 5 minutes ago. There are 2 more planes coming in. The second one is an A380. I want to watch that and then I'll run. Thank you. Thanks so much.
We're anticipating an on-time arrival and should have a mostly smooth ride for you. Again, welcome aboard. We'll be off the gate soon.
I'm Delta and Global Airline Partners, thank you for joining us. Our priority is flight safe, clean, and comfortable experience for you. For your safety, please stay seated. Seatbelts get advanced in case of experience unexpected route bear.
They're going to do a meal service in a minute, but let's very quickly, we've only been flying for about 10 minutes, let's talk first impressions. Wow, like this little cute, I don't want to call it a cute, this suite is incredibly spacious, very comfortable, lots of storage, lots of buttons to press, huge screen. If this and the lounge back at LAX is anything to go by, this, I don't want to call it too early. No, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say it's my favourite business class. It could be my favourite business. Lunch course is here, my favourite thing that's on my plate. The salt and pepper is a little jet edge. best evers in aviation. You've got best ever destination, New York City, best ever aircraft, obviously the 747, best ever pilot, Sir Ross Smith, maybe Sir Charles Kingsford Smith. That's a difficult one. But best ever business class on an airline, well, you've got to look at the Middle Eastern carriers, obviously Emirates, fantastic seat, really comfy cabin, food is amazing. Qatar's Q Suites, they were the first ones to introduce the door. Probably had some of the best experiences of my life on board Qatar's aircraft. But Delta, could it be? It's still very early to call it. But this could be the best ever. Just in terms of food on this flight, the meal that we had when we first got on board, that's actually the only meal that they'll be serving whilst we're on here. There is what they call a pre-arrival, like a snack, just before we get to Tokyo. For the whole 10-hour flight, that's really the only food that's being served. It doesn't bother me too much. I don't generally eat a lot on these long-haul flights, but just something to bear in mind for a flight that's 10 hours long. I appreciate it is the middle of the day, but if you can watch a movie on a chair or watch a movie in bed.
So whilst I'm very fortunate to be sitting in business class on this flight, it's worth noting that this Delta A350 actually has 3 cabin classes, but 5 fare types available to you if you did want to fly on this leg. And that's because economy class on this flight is actually split up into 3 different pricing levels. Basic, which just gives you a basic seat, but you can't choose where you sit. It's allocated for you. That's $567 on this flight. Main, which is still in the main economy cabin, but you can choose where you want to sit, was $687 on this flight. And for a little bit more room at the front of economy, there's an area called Comfort Plus, which also has a food and beverage service, and you can get alcoholic drinks. And on this flight, that was $942. Moving forward in the aircraft to the premium economy cabin, this is called Premium Select on Delta. That's a bigger seat, more leg room, and a different food and beverage experience. That was $1,097. And if you move to the front of the plane where we're sitting today in Delta's business class, called Delta One Suite, on this particular flight, that ticket cost $4,519 US.
The routing on this flight is actually it's quite interesting. So we're going obviously across the Pacific, but we go quite close to Alaska. Then we basically fly over the top of the Bering Sea and make our way to Japan, kind of from the north, but with Russia, with the far eastern coast of Russia, out of the right-hand side of the plane. We've got about 2 hours to go, about to enter Japanese airspace, and then not long until we touch down. So in the 9 or so hours that I've been on board so far, I've had plenty of time to consider the question, is this the best business class that I've ever flown? And I've decided to reserve my judgment until I'm actually on the ground, so until the flight is completely over. But I have had a brilliant flight. I've done a lot. I've watched movies, I've had a bit of a rest, I've done some work, I've been well fed. I found it interesting that this meal now, even though it's around 5 o'clock local time in the afternoon, it's a breakfast service that's being served. It's not breakfast in the origin or the destination, like it's breakfast somewhere in the world, but I'm not sure why. But anyway, I'm going to use the remainder of the flight just to decide whether this is in fact the best business.
Sign on. We're going to have some government about. Please find your way back to your seat and keep that seatbelt fastened for the remainder of the flight. I'd like to thank you one more time for choosing Delta Airlines today. Lieutenant, please for the captain arrival.
So were the Delta One Suites my best ever business class experience? On reflection, look, honestly, it's very subjective, but I'm not going to say best, because I think the Middle Eastern carriers, your Emirates, your Qatars, just their cabin experience, the interiors, the seats, just the overall customer service, the food, everything is on such a higher tier compared to so many other airlines out there that I think it would be actually unfair to compare someone like Delta
to those other airlines. However, I will say this is currently the centenary of Delta's operation. They've been running for 100 years exactly now in 2025. So many congratulations, Delta, on that brilliant achievement. But I've got to be honest, I had a bit of a low bar set for my impression and I suppose my appreciation of the Delta brand until I travelled on them over the last couple of days. I just kind of considered them as a bit of a bus in America, which just did you little domestic hops from here to there and was nothing special. But I think what I've learned from this experience is to give them a little bit more credit than that. The experience I had on board was excellent, and whilst they might not be the best overall, when I start to compare them against the other airlines that I think you should compare them against, like the other American airlines, and for people like me and Australian travellers, people like Qantas, I would say they're not just competitive, they're right up the top. But what do you think about Delta One Suites? Is it something you would consider flying between Australia and America in the future? Let me know in the comments below, I'd love to know.